This is Learn English with Ease.
English made powerful, simple, and yours.
Hello, and welcome back to Learn English with Ease. If this is your first time here, this channel is for a very specific type of learner. People who understand English clearly when they listen or read, but feel something strange happen when it's time to speak. We don't rush here. We don't perform. We don't teach English like a test. We talk slowly, calmly, and honestly, so your brain can relax while listening. And if that sounds helpful to you, you should subscribe to this channel, not for motivation, but for long-term change. Now let's begin with something very ordinary, something that happens almost every day. Someone looks at you and asks, "How was your day?" It's a simple question, a normal question, and you understand it immediately. But inside your body, something changes. Your attention becomes sharp, your thoughts speed up, and even though you know what you want to say, the answer doesn't come out the way it sounds in your head.
While you're listening right now, notice how easy it feels to understand. You're not searching for words, you're not checking grammar, you're just following the meaning. That's because your brain feels safe. Understanding language happens best in safety. Speaking, however, asks for action, and action feels different to the brain, especially when another person is waiting for your answer.
When someone asks you about your day, your brain has to do several things at the same time. It has to remember what happened, it has to decide what is important enough to say, and it has to turn those thoughts into spoken English in real time while someone is listening. That's a lot of work. And when the brain feels overloaded, it doesn't try to be impressive. It tries to be safe.
This is why many learners pause longer than they want to, or give very short answers even though they could say more, or feel frustrated after the conversation ends thinking, "I should have said that differently." That frustration doesn't mean you failed. It means your brain protected you by reducing risk.
There is something important to understand here. The problem is not that you don't know English. Most learners in this situation know enough words and enough grammar to answer a simple question about their day. The real problem is that your brain is trying to monitor too many things at once. Accuracy, pronunciation, speed, judgment, and when too many systems activate together, fluency shuts down.
From a scientific point of view, this is very normal. Your brain has a system for learning and a system for protection. When you feel evaluated, even slightly, the protection system becomes stronger, and protection prefers silence or simplicity. This is why your English feels better when you're alone and weaker when someone is listening.
Let's talk about why "how was your day" feels harder than it looks. It's an open question. There's no clear structure, no clear length, no correct answer. That means your brain has to create structure while speaking, and creating structure in a second language is a skill, not knowledge.
Many learners think fluency means speaking fast and smoothly, but scientifically, fluency means continuity, being able to keep going without stopping completely, even with pauses, even with simple sentences. When continuity exists, confidence slowly follows.
This is why forcing yourself to sound fluent usually backfires. Pressure increases monitoring, monitoring breaks flow, and broken flow feels like failure. So instead of forcing confidence, we change the conditions in which you speak.
One of the most helpful changes is reducing choice. When someone asks about your day, you don't need to explain everything. Your brain feels calmer when it focuses on one small moment, one activity, one feeling. That focus reduces load, and reduced load makes speaking easier.
This is also why practice methods matter. Listening improves understanding. Reading improves recognition. But speaking improves only when you actually speak, especially in calm, low-pressure situations. If most of your practice avoids speaking, your speaking system stays quiet, not broken, just untrained.
And training doesn't mean correcting every mistake. It means repetition without danger. When your brain learns that nothing bad happens when you speak imperfectly, it stops interrupting you. This is how your voice becomes stable.
If this explanation feels personal, that's because it is. You're not alone in this experience, and there is nothing wrong with your intelligence or effort. What needs to change is not how much English you know, but how your brain is allowed to use it in conversation.
As we continue, we'll stay focused on this one everyday situation, talking about your day. and slowly show how to respond in a way that feels natural and calm, without memorizing scripts and without translating in your head. Not by rushing, but by building trust between you and your English.
Stay with us. Your voice isn't missing. It's waiting for the right conditions to come out.
Now let's take this a step further. Imagine the question, "How was your day?" has been asked, and you've chosen one small moment to talk about. Even then, your brain may still feel tension. It's not enough to pick a moment. You have to express it in words, in English, while someone is listening. And here is the subtle challenge most learners overlook. Your brain separates understanding from speaking. You can understand English perfectly. You can read and listen. But when it's time to speak, your brain switches modes. Listening mode is calm. Speaking mode is active. It requires decision-making, motor coordination, and risk assessment all at once.
Exactly. And those three processes, decision-making, motor execution, and evaluation, happen almost simultaneously. Decision-making means you must choose the right words to describe your moment. Motor execution means your mouth, tongue, and lips have to move in coordination to pronounce those words correctly. And evaluation is your brain silently asking, "Is this okay? Am I saying it right? Will they understand me?" Even native speakers experience this in high-stress situations. For a learner, it can feel magnified because your speaking system has not been trained under this level of real-time pressure. This is why learners often pause too long, shorten their sentences, or feel frustrated mid-conversation. Your knowledge exists, but your brain temporarily blocks access to it.
And here's the science behind why this happens. Your brain has a protection system designed to avoid mistakes in social situations. When it senses evaluation, even mild evaluation, your protective system activates. It slows processing and makes you choose the safest, simplest answer. That is why answering, even to a familiar question, feels difficult. This is also why practicing alone is easier than practicing with someone else. Alone, your brain doesn't detect social risk. It stays in calm mode. With another person, alert mode activates, and fluency temporarily drops.
This is a very important point. Many learners believe confidence comes before speaking. They think, if I just had more confidence, I could answer faster. But research and practical experience show the opposite. Speaking first creates confidence. Confidence is a result of repeated, safe speaking experiences. If you wait for confidence to appear before speaking, your brain never gets the chance to practice speaking in real-world conditions, so the focus should not be on confidence. It should be on building safe, repeatable speaking conditions where your brain can work without fear.
And now, let's connect this directly to your day-to-day English. When someone asks about your day, your brain wants structure. It wants to reduce the number of decisions. It wants safe boundaries. Here's a simple pattern to follow. Pick one small moment. Describe it in 1 to 2 sentences. Add a tiny detail. What, who, or how you felt. Stop. Pause. Breathe. This may feel small. It may feel insufficient. But scientifically, this trains your brain to coordinate understanding, memory recall, and speech production under real conditions. Over time, this creates what we call fluency. Not perfect fluency, not immediate fluency, but gradual, confident, and natural fluency that works in real conversations.
And here's a subtle trick that professional speakers use without realizing it. They break down open-ended questions into mini-questions for themselves while speaking. Instead of answering, "How was your day?" in one long answer, they internally ask, "What is one thing that happened today? Who was involved? What was interesting about it?" Then they speak the answer to each mini-question sequentially. This reduces cognitive load. Your brain is no longer trying to organize a full day at once. It handles one simple piece at a time. And because your brain experiences successful speaking repeatedly, the protective system relaxes. Pauses shrink. Words flow.
This is why learners often feel improvement when they change their approach, even slightly. It's not that they suddenly understand more English. It's that they create conditions where their brain can speak without being blocked. And every time this happens, the brain reinforces the speaking pathway. Even small successes matter more than long study sessions. 5 sentences said confidently are more effective than an hour of silent listening.
Let's also talk about mistakes. Many learners fear making mistakes, but mistakes are essential signals. When your brain realizes that small mistakes do not cause social harm, it allows more speech to come out. This is why focusing on correctness first is counterproductive. Your goal is to speak, not to be perfect. When speaking becomes safe, fluency grows naturally. Confidence is the side effect, not the requirement.
Think about your day again. You pick a moment, describe it in one sentence, maybe add a small detail, and pause. Repeat this several times in practice. Alone first, then with a friendly listener. Notice how much easier it becomes to speak each time. Your brain begins to understand, I can express myself. Nothing bad happens. My English works. This is how small, structured practice transforms your ability to answer open-ended questions like, how was your day, into something calm, confident, and natural.
And this applies to all open-ended questions, not just about your day. How was your weekend? What did you eat? Tell me about your work or school. Whenever the question is broad, your brain wants structure. Your task is to give it structure safely. Once you do this repeatedly, your speaking system strengthens, and your responses stop feeling overwhelming. The moment that once caused anxiety becomes manageable.
In summary, here's the pattern your brain needs. Keep answers small and structured. Add minimal, meaningful detail. Practice repeatedly in calm, low-pressure situations. Gradually increase social interaction. By following this pattern, your brain learns that speaking English is safe. Silence is no longer automatic. Pauses shorten naturally. Confidence grows as a result of safe action.
And if you notice yourself thinking, I should have said more, that is normal. That's your brain learning boundaries. Over time, those boundaries expand naturally. The key is consistency, not intensity. Speaking for 5 minutes in a structured, calm way every day is far more effective than an hour of rushed practice once a week.
So, the next time someone asks, how was your day? You are ready. You already know the system behind your freeze. You already know how to reduce cognitive load. You already know how to create safe conditions for your brain. All that remains is practice. Small, repeatable practice. Safe, structured, intentional practice.
Now that we understand why the question, how was your day, can feel difficult, let's go even deeper. Let's talk about how you can actually respond step by step without feeling rushed or frozen. The key is breaking the answer into very small pieces, not trying to tell the whole day at once. Just focus on one moment that stands out. For example, maybe you had a meeting, a lunch with a friend, or just a quiet moment at home. Pick that single moment first.
Yes. And then describe it with one simple sentence. That's your starting point. Don't worry about perfect grammar. Don't worry about vocabulary you don't know. Just describe what happened. For instance, I had lunch with a friend. That's it. One sentence. After that, you can add a small detail. We talked about a new movie, or we walked in the park. These small details give your brain structure and reduce overload. They make the conversation feel manageable rather than overwhelming.
And here's a practical tip. While you're practicing alone, you can silently ask yourself mini questions. What is one thing that happened today? Who was there? What was interesting or unusual? Then answer each mini question out loud in English, one by one. This trains your speaking system gradually. Your brain begins to see that it can respond without danger, and fluency grows naturally over time.
It's also important to pause naturally between sentences. Pauses are not mistakes. They are signals to your brain that speaking is safe. Pauses give you time to breathe, think, and continue. Many learners rush because they fear silence, but silence is part of natural speech. A pause can make your answer clearer and easier to produce.
Now, let's talk about long-term practice. The goal is not to memorize perfect answers. The goal is to build habitual speaking patterns that your brain can rely on under any social condition. Start small, practice consistently, and gradually increase complexity. Ask yourself mini questions, answer them aloud, and slowly your brain will respond automatically.
And this principle applies to any open-ended question, not just how was your day. What did you do yesterday? Tell me about your work. What did you eat for lunch? All of these questions create similar cognitive load, and the same structured, safe approach applies. Pick a moment, speak it in simple sentences, add small details, pause, repeat. That is how you retrain your brain to speak naturally.
If you follow this approach regularly, something amazing happens. The protective system no longer dominates. Your speaking system begins to act first. Confidence follows automatically. The feeling of being frozen disappears over time. You realize that the problem was never your English knowledge, but the conditions under which you practiced speaking.
And that's the beauty of this method. It's simple, it's slow, it's safe. It doesn't rely on memorizing vocabulary lists or thinking about grammar constantly. It focuses on your brain's natural learning process and trains it to produce English naturally, without fear.
So to summarize, remember these key steps. Pick one small moment to talk about. Speak it in 1 or 2 simple sentences. Add a small detail. Pause naturally. Repeat regularly in calm, low-pressure conditions.
By following these steps, your brain learns that speaking English is safe. Silence stops being automatic. Words flow naturally. Confidence builds gradually. And the next time someone asks, "How was your day?" you will respond calmly, clearly, and without fear.
If this episode has helped you understand yourself and your speaking process better, consider subscribing to Learn English with Ease. Not for daily motivation, but for long-term, practical strategies that slowly retrain your brain.
And remember, every episode on this channel is connected. Each one gently strengthens your speaking system, making your voice more natural, fluent, and confident over time. You're not alone, and your English is already inside you.
Your voice is waiting. It just needs a safe place to come out.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next conversation.